Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 4, Chapter number 9. Title: Dhruva Maharaj Returns Home. Text number 51. Tam sasam surjana rajnim. Tam sasam surjana rajnim. Distyate putra artiha. Distyate putra artiha. Pratilabdastiram nasto. Pratilabdastiram nasto. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Tam sasam surjana rajne. Distyate putra artiha. Pratilabdastiram nasto. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Tam sasam surjana rajne. Distyate putra artiha. Pratilabdastiram nasto. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Tam sasam surjana rajne. Distyate putra artiha. Stiram nasto. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Tam sasam surjana rajne. Distyate putra artiha. Pratilabdastiram nasto. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Matajis. Tam sasam surjana rajnim. Distyate putra artiha. Pratilabdya chiram nasto. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Tam sasam surjana rajnim. Rakshita mandalam bhuvaha. Word for word translation. Tam unto Queen Suniti. Sasam suhu offered praise. Janaha the people in general. Rajnim unto the queen. Distya by fortune. Te your. Putraha son. Artiha will vanquish all your pains. Pratilabdaha now returned. Chiram since a long time. Nastaha lost. Rakshita will protect. Mandalam the globe. Bhuvaha earthly. Translation. The residents of the palace praised the queen. Dear queen, your beloved son was lost a long time ago, and it is your great fortune that he now has come back. It appears, therefore, that your son will be able to protect you for a very long time and will put an end to all your material pangs. Text 52. Abhyarchita svayanunam bhagavan pranatartiha yad anudhyayano dhira mrityum jigyu sudurjayam. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Dear Queen, you must have worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who delivers His devotees from the greatest danger. Persons who constantly meditate upon Him surpass the course of birth and death. This perfection is very difficult to achieve. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj was the lost child of Queen Suniti. But during his absence, she always meditated upon the Supreme Personality Godhead, who is able to rescue his devotee from all dangers. While Dhruva Maharaj was absent from his home, not only did he undergo severe austerities in the forest of Madhuvan, but at home also his mother prayed to the Supreme Lord for his safety and good fortune. In other words, the Lord was worshipped by both the mother and the son, and both were able to achieve the supreme benediction from the Supreme Lord. The word Sudurjayam, an adjective which indicates that no one can conquer death, is very significant. When Dhruva Maharaj was away from his home, his father thought that he was dead. Ordinarily, a king's son, only 5 years old and away from home in the forest, would certainly be supposed dead. But by the mercy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, not only was he saved, but he was blessed with the highest perfection. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So continuing our discussion from the 9th chapter of Canto 4, titled Dhruva Maharaj Returns Home. It is said that there is 2 things that we should always remember and 2 things that we should always forget. The 2 things we should always remember is, we should always remember the good that others have done upon us. Second thing we should always remember is the bad things we have done to others. And the 2 things we should always forget is the good things we have done to others. And the second thing we should forget is the bad things others have done towards us. If we study the life of Dhruva Maharaj, we see how he ticks all these boxes. By his own personal life, he follows all 4 of these things. So 2 things we should remember is, we should remember the good that others have done upon us. And the second one is, we should remember the bad that we have done upon others. So in this chapter, we are seeing Dhruva Maharaj demonstrate some of these. For example, he does his tapasya, he follows Narad Muni's instructions very sincerely, very strictly. He gets darshan of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu blesses him with his darshan, and Vishnu gives him benediction and fulfills all of Dhruva Maharaj's desires. But after Vishnu leaves, we see that Dhruva Maharaj is lamenting. And we hear Bhagavatam ask this question, how is it that Dhruva Maharaj is lamenting? He just saw Vishnu himself, he got his desires fulfilled, and why is he lamenting? He is lamenting because he is remembering the bad that he has done to others. Because in his mind he is remembering that he was desiring something bad towards his stepmother, towards Uttama, his stepbrother, and also is remembering how he was performing bhakti with material desires. He was performing bhakti to get something in return from Krishna. So pure devotional service means we just serve Krishna because we love Krishna. And we just want to satisfy Krishna and Krishna's desires, Krishna's senses, and we don't want anything for ourselves. But Dhruva Maharaj, out of his humility, and he's thinking that initially when I was performing bhakti, I wasn't doing it purely, out of love. I was doing it to get something in return from Krishna. So this wasn't proper for me. So thinking like this, he is lamenting. So this is the first thing, which is we should always remember the bad things we have done. So Dhruva Maharaj, he is remembering this, that, oh man, I messed up, I was doing bhakti with material desires. I was desiring something bad for my stepmother. I was desiring something bad for my stepbrother Uttama. Shame upon me. Like this, he was repenting and lamenting. Last week we were discussing how there's two types of lamentation. There is spiritual lamentation and material lamentation. So as devotees, Prabhupada says, devotees, we go through the same emotions that anyone else would go through, karmis. But devotees, the emotions they go through, they're spiritual. So in our lives, we'll also go through moments where we're lamenting, we're repenting, we're feeling ashamed of ourselves. So how do we know whether that lamentation is material or spiritual? My Guru Maharaj says, the way you distinguish is material lamentation leads to a decrease in devotional service. Spiritual lamentation leads to an increase in devotional service. For example, we doing some seva and we mess up and we're not able to do it properly, and devotees point out, you did this wrong, did that wrong. Material lamentation would be that, we go into depression, oh, I'm so fallen, I'm so useless, I can't do anything, I'll stop, I'll just stop, give up the service. I won't do this service anymore, I'll stop coming to the temple. So that's material lamentation because Krishna's devotional service has reduced. Spiritual lamentation is that yes, we repent, we feel bad, oh, I messed up, I shouldn't have done like this, I compromised on Gopinath Seva, I need to become more strict, I need to become more focused, tomorrow I'm going to come and I'm going to chant some really good rounds, and get myself together, get really focused, and, give it a second shot. So this is called spiritual lamentation. It's resulted in increase in devotional service. We're pushing ourselves to become more sincere. We're pushing ourselves to chant more attentively. We're pushing ourselves to pray to Krishna for his blessings and mercy with more eagerness. So this is spiritual because it's resulting in us increasing our devotional service. So with Dhruva Maharaj's case, the lamentation he was going through, remembering the bad he had done in his past, is spiritual because as we'll read on in the verses coming forward, that it's not like he just laments and just sits in a corner and does nothing, but he takes the position of the king and he does so many sacrifices and yagnas, and for thousands and thousands of years he worships Lord Vishnu. Same thing we'll see throughout Bhagavatam. When devotees, they lament, it won't result in them reducing their service, but actually result in them increasing their service. Like maybe 1 or 2 months ago, I was reading story of Ajamil. After, he led a life full of sin, then the Vishnu Dutas come. By their association, he comes to his senses, and then after the Vishnu Dutas, they leave, then he also starts lamenting. And then he starts remembering, oh, so many sins I did, how I wasted my life. I was born in a nice, pious family, but I gave up everything and I engaged in so many sinful activities. Like this, he was lamenting and feeling very bad. But then what did he do? Immediately he gave up everything and we went to Haridwar. And he took shelter of a temple of Vishnu, and for the rest of his life he engaged in worshipping the deity there in that temple of Vishnu. So it's not like he was just lamenting, just feeling ashamed and doing nothing, but no. He got himself together and with sincereness, great eagerness, he started performing devotional service. And then at the end of his life, the same Vishnu Dutas he had met before, those same Vishnu Dutas, exact same Vishnu Dutas came and they took him back home, back to Godhead. When I was reading this pastime, I was thinking that Ajamil's story is actually quite similar to most of our stories. Just like Ajamil, he was born in a nice, pious family. Similarly, most of us, we were born in nice kind of pious, Hindu family. But then Ajamil, he went wayward. He started performing so many sinful activities. So I was thinking for myself, I was also wayward, engaging in so many sinful activities. But then how did Ajamil's life change? His life changed when he got the association of the Vishnu Dutas. Prabhupada says Duta means messenger, and Vishnu Duta means one who is the messenger of Vishnu. So Prabhupada says any devotee of the Lord, they can be called Vishnu Duta. So all Vaishnavas or Vaishnavis, they're all Vishnu Dutas, because every Vaishnava or Vaishnavi is a messenger of Krishna or a messenger of Vishnu. So just like in Ajamil's case, these 4 Vishnu Dutas came, and by their association, he completely transformed. I was thinking, same way in my life, Prabhupada came, Prabhupada's devotees came, and by their association, my life also got transformed. And then what did Ajamil do next? Immediately he left everything and took shelter of a temple of Vishnu. So same way we have also left all of our mature activities and we've taken shelter of this beautiful temple of Radha Gopinath. And then it's given for the rest of his life. Ajamil, he engaged in worshipping the deity in that temple. So same way, if we just continue worshipping Radha Gopinath here in 180 Falcon Street, North Sydney, then what happened to Ajamil? Those same Vishnu Dutas who he saw many years ago, the same Vishnu Dutas came and took him back to Godhead. So in the same way, in our case also, the same Vishnu Dutas, Srila Prabhupada, by whose association our life got changed, that same Vishnu Duta will come and carry us back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada used to say that actually, all of us, we don't have qualification to go back to Godhead. But Prabhupada says, I have the key to the back door of the spiritual world. I'll sneak you in somehow or other. Although you don't tick all the boxes, you have no qualification. You just help me, assist me in my mission to my spiritual master, and I will, somehow or other, I'll sneak you in through the back door. So this is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So that's the first thing we should always remember. We should remember all the nonsense, we did. In that section of Ajamil in 6th canto, 1 purport, Prabhupada says that a devotee of the Lord, a pure devotee of the Lord, he always remembers all the nonsense he has done in his past. And by remembering this, he always stays humble. He maintains humility. But we should be careful, not that we always think about the nonsense we did and then we go into depression and just think, oh, I'm so fallen, I'm so useless, and do nothing. So as I was mentioning before, if something is resulting in decrease in devotional service, that's material. Anything that's resulting in increase in service, that is spiritual. So that's the first thing, that we should remember the bad we have done in the past. So we see Dhruva Maharaj demonstrating this. He gets personal darshan of Vishnu, he gets all of his desires fulfilled, but still he is lamenting because he's remembering, oh, I worshipped Krishna with material desires, I was desiring something bad for my stepmother, shame upon me, how could I be so stupid, how can I do like this? Like this he's thinking. Second thing we should remember is the good things others have done upon us. So this we see Dhruva Maharaj demonstrating in later chapters. At the end of his life, Dhruva Maharaj, he will take Vanaprastha, he will leave the kingdom, his role as a king, and he will go and do tapasya in the associations of some sages. And like this, he will be engaged in worshipping the Lord. And one day, the airplane, to Vaikunta comes, along with some Vishnu Dutas, and they tell Dhruva Maharaj, okay, this is it, now is your time, you can come back home, back to Godhead. And Dhruva Maharaj, he gets on, and what is his first thought? What about my mother, Suniti? Only because of her mercy, I started practicing devotional service. What about her? Immediately he remembers. So remember, this is the second thing we should always remember, which is all the good things that others have done upon us. We should never forget. So Dhruva Maharaj, immediately he remembers his mother. It was only by my mother's instruction that I went to the forest to worship Lord Vishnu. Not only that, in today's purport, Prabhupada is mentioning, so far we're just, hearing about the glories of Dhruva Maharaj, how Dhruva Maharaj, with such sincerity, determination, he was performing bhakti, and because of his great sincerity, he saw Vishnu in 6 months. But in today's purport, Prabhupada is giving another angle. Prabhupada is saying that Dhruva Maharaj's success was not just due to his own endeavor in bhakti, but Dhruva Maharaj's success was due also due to his mother's prayers, which he was offering at home. So for those 6 months that Dhruva Maharaj had gone or disappeared into his forest, for those 6 months, Prabhupada mentions that Queen Suniti at home, she was very, very sincerely and eagerly, with heart and soul, she was praying to Krishna that my son has gone to the forest, I don't know where he is, he's gone to find you, he's gone to worship you, please protect him, you please bless him. So while Dhruva Maharaj was gone, Queen Suniti, for 6 months, she was also worshipping the Supreme Lord in the palace and offering prayers. And Prabhupada in today's purport, he is saying that this is another reason for Dhruva Maharaj's success. Not only was he successful because of his own endeavor in bhakti, but he was successful because he had the well wishes, he had the prayers being offered by his mother, who was a Vaishnavi. So this is another point for us to learn, that for us to progress, no doubt we have to put endeavor from our side, but along with that we need the good wishes, well wishes of other devotees. If other devotees, they wish well for us, if other devotees, they pray for us, by the power of their prayers and good wishes, we can advance much, much more quickly. In fact, by their prayers and good wishes, we can advance more quickly than by our own endeavor. This something might be a bit difficult, for us to understand, because in material life, the way we are brought up, for the last 10, 20, 30 years is, in material life, just based on our own endeavor, we get success. Like in school, how much marks I get is based on how much studies I do, how much time I spend in studying. We don't think, if my parents desire good for me, if my friend desires good for me, if my teacher desires good for me, by the power of my teacher's good wishes, I will get good marks. No one thinks like that. There's no correlation. So in material life, everything, as far as our understanding goes, in material life, our success in any kind of material activity is just based on our own endeavor. According to the endeavor I put, I will get a certain result. And there's no correlation between others around us and their good wishes and their prayers. But in spiritual life, this is different. Prabhupada explained, Shastras explain, that in spiritual life, if there is a desire, if there is a devotee of the Lord praying for us, praying for our spiritual advancement, if there is a devotee of the Lord wishing well for us, then by the power of their prayers and good wishes, we can advance very, very quickly. And that's what we're seeing in Dhruva Maharaj's case. Prabhupada is explaining that another reason why Dhruva Maharaj got success so quickly in just 6 months was because another devotee, Queen Suniti, his own mother, was praying for him. So she must have been very sincerely, very intensely praying to Krishna. So Vishnu, on one hand, he's seeing, this devotee praying for Dhruva Maharaj's success. On the other hand, he's seeing Dhruva Maharaj himself putting so much endeavor. And we can also say Narad Muni, he must have also been praying for Dhruva Maharaj's success, being his spiritual master. So by the combined effort of, prayers by his Guru Maharaj, by his mother, and by his own endeavor, he was able to get success so quickly. So we should always remember this, that in our spiritual life, very important for us to have good relationships with other devotees, so that others will desire good for us, and by the power of their good wishes, by their prayers, we can advance very, very quickly. Like in Nectar Devotion, I forgot the actual details, but it's given that someone can become a devotee by mercy of pure devotees very quickly. And there's different ways how a pure devotee can transform someone. One way is just by their glance. A pure devotee, if he just simply glances at someone, by the power of that glance, he can just transform someone's life and make them into a pure devotee. Another way a pure devotee can change someone is by their desire, by their ichcha. If a pure devotee looks at someone and thinks, I wish, this person becomes a devotee. He's very sincere, he has a lot of nice, good qualities. I wish, he can become a nice devotee of the Lord. Then just by that power of that devotee's desire, that, so-called normal person can immediately transform, become a devotee. Like this, there's different ways in which how a pure devotee can transform someone's heart. Same thing we see like when we distribute books, like Navin Nirad Prabhu says, when we distribute books, it's kind of like a battle of desires. The person we're trying to distribute book to, their desires, they don't want Krishna. They want to go away from Krishna. And what's our desire? Our desire is to give them the book. Our desire is to give them Krishna. So it's like conflict of desires. The person we're trying to approach, he wants to go away from Krishna. And we from our side, we want them to come to Krishna. So who wins? Navin Nirad Prabhu says, if our desire is strong enough, if our desire to give them Krishna is stronger than their desire to go away from Krishna, then they will buy the book. So it's just a matter of our desire. How sincerely, how intensely we're desiring to give Krishna to others. Based on that intensity, we'll be able to convince that many conditioned souls to come to Krishna's lotus feet. So that's the second thing we should remember is the good things others have done towards us. So we see that with Dhruva Maharaj's life also. At the time of death, Vaikuntha airplane has come, and he remembers, oh, my mother, only by her mercy, I started practicing bhakti, only by her prayers, I was successful. How can I leave her? What about my mother? And the Vishnu Dutas tell him, they could understand his mind, and they tell him, look, your mother she's also coming. There's another Vaikuntha airplane. She's also coming. No need to worry, actually. So we should always remember the good others have done, and we should be very grateful. It's funny, one lecture, Rana Maharaj, he says, when I first heard this, I was like very shocked. He says, out of all the bad qualities one can have, the worst bad quality is ingratitude, to be ungrateful. When I heard this, I was like shocked. There's so many bad things you can have, like greed, lust, anger, envy. These are like very, very big anarthas. But Rana Maharaj says, according to Shastra, out of all the bad qualities, the worst bad quality is to be ungrateful, is to show ingratitude. So we should be careful of this. By always remembering good things others have done towards us, we can escape this. My Guru Maharaj, he says that whenever anyone does something good for us, we should always remember this. And whenever we see that devotee, we should always remind that devotee that, you helped me in this way, this really inspired me, this really helped me in my bhakti. Thank you for doing this. And as a result of that, what will happen? That devotee will feel more inspired to go to someone else and offer more help and service to others. So in this way, Krishna's devotional service expands even more. So Krishna is happy, that devotee is happy, and we, because we are pleasing Krishna and other Vaishnava, we also become happy. So everyone is happy. Okay, so that's the second thing we should remember, is the good that others have done upon us. Then two things we should forget. First thing we should forget is the bad things others have done upon us. All of these four things, it's very nice to say and quote, it sounds very nice. But when it comes to practicing, like so difficult. Especially this one, the bad things others have done upon us, one should forget. It is said, Radhana Maharaj, he mentions that, there's different qualities we're supposed to cultivate. One is like gratitude, humility, compassion. He says, first step, level 1 is to cultivate gratitude. Then next comes level 2, which is humility. So if someone is grateful, only then can he be humble. If someone is not grateful, he can't come to the next stage and demonstrate humility. So first comes gratitude, then comes humility. Then if someone is humble, then he can come to next level, which is compassion. So someone to be genuinely compassionate to others, he must be both grateful and humble. Unless someone is grateful and humble, he can't be compassionate. Okay, so first comes gratitude, and after cultivating gratitude, one can become humble. After cultivating humility, one can demonstrate compassion. Then Radhana Maharaj says there's even one level higher than showing compassion, which is forgiveness. So Radhana Maharaj says, only one who's grateful, humble, and compassionate, only then can he demonstrate forgiveness. So to show forgiveness to those who have done something bad towards us is something very, very great actually. To be able to practically demonstrate forgiveness and have nothing, no negative feelings in our heart, it requires a lot of spiritual strength, it requires a lot of spiritual advancement. Only if someone has cultivated gratitude, humility, compassion, only then can he, fully demonstrate forgiveness. That doesn't mean that, we think, I'm just a new devotee, so I won't forgive, I am not so advanced, No, we should, from our side, we should try. We should pray to Krishna to help us, not think anything bad towards others, to be very simple and pure in heart and mind. But yes, to demonstrate these Vaishnava qualities, something like forgiveness, is actually a very, very great elevated quality. It's like level 4. So Dhruva Maharaj is demonstrating this. We see in this chapter. He is completely forgotten. Remember the two things we should forget. First one is we should forget the bad things others have done to us. So we see this Dhruva Maharaj when he's coming back from the forest. His stepmother is there, and his stepbrother is also there. And with no ill feeling at heart, he immediately comes to his stepmother and offers her obeisances, touches her feet, puts on his head. And his stepmother, she's also feeling very bad, for what she has done in the past. And she's, you can imagine, what her heart would be like. She'll be feeling a bit embarrassed or ashamed of herself. And seeing Dhruva Maharaj, she's overcome, by compassion. And she embraces Dhruva Maharaj. And she bathes Dhruva Maharaj, with the tears. And she blesses Dhruva Maharaj. May you have a long life, long prosperous life. Like this, he first gets the blessings of his stepmother, Queen Surichi. Then it's given that he embraces his stepbrother, Uttama. So he also has no kind of harsh feelings towards his stepbrother. He doesn't have that little bit of envy which he used to have. And is given, they embrace with such love and affection that the hairs on their bodies stand on end. With so much love and feeling, the two stepbrothers are embracing each other. So again, we see Dhruva Maharaj demonstrating this. Someone who had, caused him so much pain before, that same person is coming before him, and he has no remembrance of what she did. Just with open heart, very simple, humble Vaishnava heart, he is going and touching her feet, taking her blessings, embracing his stepbrother out of great love and affection. So Dhruva Maharaj, he also demonstrates this, which is we should forget the bad that others have done upon us. And the second thing we should forget is the good we have done to others. So where do we see Dhruva Maharaj demonstrating this? We'll see this in the later chapters. When Dhruva Maharaj has taken Vanaprastha and is doing tapasya, he's not doing alone, he's doing with some other sages. At that time, the Vaikuntha airplane comes with the Vishnu Dutas, and it's very interesting. Before Dhruva Maharaj gets on the plane, he goes to all the sages who are there in that particular holy place, and he gets their permission and he gets their blessings. And only then does he get onto the Vaikuntha airplane. If it was us, we'll be like, yes, finally, today is the day. After so many years of hard work, the Vaikuntha airplane has come, we'll just get on and just go. Hare Krishna Prabhu, it's nice having your association, thank you, for everything, and then we'll just go. But he tells the Vishnu Dutas to wait. And it's given, there's like a whole group of sages. He goes to each and every sage, takes their blessings, takes their permission, thanks them, offer respects, and only after offering obeisances to all the sages, only after collecting blessings and getting the permission of all the sages, only then does he get on the Vaikuntha airplane. So if Dhruva Maharaj was proud, of his devotional credits, then he wouldn't have done this. Because technically speaking, he is more advanced than all these sages, right? Because all these sages, they've been tapasya, but they haven't seen Supreme Personality Godhead himself, right in front of them. But Dhruva Maharaj, when he was just 5 years old, he got personal darshan of Vishnu. Now, Dhruva Maharaj was thinking, yes, when I was 5 years old, I got darshan of Vishnu. I have Narad Muni as my guru, the greatest devotee of all time. He is my own personal guru. I'm so great. If he's remembering all these things, then he wouldn't have gone and humbly took the dust of all these sages. Because he was humble, he didn't remember, all the things he has done. He didn't remember, I saw Vishnu's darshan, so I'm so great. For thousands of years I've done so many sacrifices. He had every reason to be proud, but he wasn't proud. He was very humble. So this is the second thing we should forget. We should forget all the good things we have done. And not always remember, I did this, I achieved this, I achieved that. But rather we should meditate on how we can do more and more service to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So that should be more in our consciousness and mind. So Dhruva Maharaj, he also demonstrated this at the end of his life. He wasn't proud, and we see that by him practically going and very humbly taking the dust of all the sages, getting their blessings. One might think, what's the need of getting blessing? You already achieved perfection, That's it, the airplane is here. What do you need blessings for? But no, Dhruva Maharaj, he's now going to go next destination to do his service in his next destination. He genuinely feels, I need more blessings of these sages. And they are my seniors, how can I leave, without their permission? So like this, in very humble mood, Dhruva Maharaj, he gets on the airplane. So like this, we see through these chapters of Bhagavatam how Dhruva Maharaj, he ticks all these boxes. He remembers the good that others have done upon him. He remembers the bad he has done. He has forgotten the bad others have done to him. And he has forgotten the good he has done to others. So again, this is very nice to speak, but when it comes to application, very difficult. So that's why my Guru Maharaj says, we need the mercy of Lord Balaram or Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So Krishna in the Shastras, he gives us these instructions. You should do like this, you should do like that, you shouldn't do like that, you shouldn't do like that. But when it comes to application, we all struggle, we don't have that mental strength, spiritual strength, we don't have that determination to carry out all of Krishna's instructions. It is said that Krishna's instructions is just like a sword. And if we take that instructions in our hands, using that sword of knowledge, we can cut through, all the attachments, all the bindings of Maya and free ourselves and go back home, back to Godhead. But the only problem is that sword of knowledge that Krishna has given us is very, very heavy. And we're so weak, we can't even lift that sword. What to speak of using that sword to cut through all the chains of Maya. That's why Guru Maharaj says we need to pray to Lord Balaram for spiritual strength. Yes, we understand in Shastra, okay, we should do this, we should be like Dhruva Maharaj, we should follow this, we should follow that. But when it comes to application, all of us, we struggle because we're so weak. So we need to pray to Balaram for spiritual strength. That's why his name is Balaram. Bala means strength, one who gives strength. And Ram refers to, you can take Krishna. So one who gives strength to go towards Krishna, or one who gives strength to carry out the instructions of Krishna. So like this, there is one verse in Bhagavatam which explains that Krishna, he gives the sword of knowledge, but to pick up that sword of knowledge and to use that sword of knowledge, to apply that sword of knowledge, one needs spiritual strength from Lord Balaram. Unless we pray to Lord Balaram for mercy, we won't be able to apply the instructions of the Shastra. We'll only be able to, sit nicely and give nice classes, yeah, we should do like this, we should do like that. This devotee did this devotee did like that. We'll only be able to speak, but we won't be able to apply. So every day we need to pray to Lord Balaram for spiritual strength to follow the instructions, that we're getting from Bhagavatam. Follow the instructions of our Guru Maharaj, of our authorities. Unless we have the spiritual strength coming from Lord Balaram, we will definitely fail when it comes to application. Navin Prabhu says that, when we study, we get information, but after we get the information, we have to do application. If we don't do application, then that information will simply remain as only information. It won't be much use. But if we do application, then we will get realization. And after getting realization, we will get transformation in our lives. So application is very important. But for that, we need to pray to Lord Balaram for that spiritual strength. As Mataji was saying in yesterday's class, Prabhupada, Mataji was quoting one purport from 4th canto, where Prabhupada says there's two kinds of heroes in this material world. There is the material hero and there's the spiritual hero. Spiritual hero is one who is a master of his senses, who can control his senses and engage his senses in Krishna's service. But to be a spiritual hero, with a nice sword, of Krishna's instructions, for that we need some muscle power. So that muscle power comes from Lord Balaram. So Balaram, he gives us that muscle to be spiritual heroes. Otherwise, what kind of superhero will we be? With no muscles. We'll just have weapons, but we won't have the strength to use those weapons. So Baladev, he gives us that muscle power, to become spiritual heroes. One more point Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport today. The word Sudurjayam, an adjective which indicates that no one can conquer death, is very significant. When Dhruva Maharaj was away from home, his father thought he was dead. Ordinarily, a king's son, only 5 years old, and away from home in the forest, would certainly be supposed dead. But by the mercy of the Supreme Personal Godhead, not only was he saved, but he was blessed with the highest perfection. So another point Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, that on one side his mother was praying for his protection, on the other side his father was very worried about his son, that for so many months he has disappeared, he's gone to the forest, and Prabhupada mentions that his father was like 99% sure that he's dead, How can a 5-year-old boy go into the forest with wild animals and survive? Where will he eat? How will he maintain himself? There's wild animals, lions, tigers. So it's mentioned that his father was like 99% sure that that's it, my son is gone and I am the cause of his death. Like this, the father was lamenting back at home. But in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning, if someone has the protection of the Supreme Lord, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, no one can touch him. No one can harm him. So we should always remember this. Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, he mentions that the quality, there's like one verse which talks about different qualities one should cultivate. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains, different qualities supposed to be cultivated by different ashrams. And Prabhupada says that one who's a sannyasi, he should cultivate the quality of fearlessness. So that is the quality given for sannyasis. And the purport, Prabhupada explains that a sannyasi, he can walk into any forest without any fear. He can go into a forest without any fear. How will I eat? How will I sleep? He can go into any forest, without any fear of wild animals, of tigers, lions. Why? Because the sannyasi, he understands and he has the realization that Krishna is within my heart. He is there always with me. I am never alone. And with that realization, he is completely fearless. He knows that the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Controller, he is always there with me. So what is there to be afraid of? Nothing. So having that realization, Prabhupada explains, the sannyasi, he is able to be fearless. And he's able to go anywhere and everywhere, fully relying and depending on Krishna's mercy. Because he understands that Krishna, he is always there with me. Like Ghanshyam always tells us, when you go in books, you understand that you take Gopinath as your Sankirtan partner. He's like our best Sankirtan partner. So when we're distributing books, we're tag teaming, with Paramatma. Paramatma is there within our hearts. He gives us guidance, what to say, what not to say, how to sell the book. And he's also there as Paramatma in the other person's heart. He will tell that person, he's a nice person, give him money, buy the book. So Paramatma, or Gopinath as Paramatma, he's our best Sankirtan partner. So the same quality that sannyasis have, we can also cultivate by understanding that Radha Gopinath, they're always there present with us. We're never alone. If we understand this, we will be fearless. Nothing will scare us. We can go anywhere and everywhere, do any service, and we'll always be fearless. We can do it with full confidence. Should always understand that Krishna has always got our back. He'll always protect us. And we see this with, when we go out for preaching or book distribution. So many things can go wrong. There's so many mad people out there, so many crazy people out there, so many envious people out there. But somehow or other, although we've been distributing books for so many years, nothing, bad has come upon us, It's not that, one day, one Sankirtan devotee comes back, with a black eye, Another day, he's on crutches, So, although it can happen, it's mentioned that 1 in 3 people out there, they have some mental illness, So the probability of us, being bashed up by someone or someone, physically harming us is, there's a good chance it will happen. But somehow or other, Gopinath is protecting us, Not a single scratch has come upon any of us. So Gopinath is there, always with us. He's protecting us as Paramatma. I was remembering one time I was distributing books outside of Woolworths in Town Hall Station. And then there was this one homeless guy, walking towards me very quickly. And he looked like a bit scary, like dangerous. And the way he was walking towards me, in my mind I was like 99% sure he's going to come and, beat me or punch me or do something, like physically harm me. And I was like, oh man, this guy. And very quickly he came up to me, and I was like 99% sure that's it, I'm going to get punched by this guy who's going to shove me or do something bad to me. But instead he does the complete opposite. He comes super quickly, he walks towards me, and then from his pocket he just takes out cash, and then he puts it in my hand and then just walks off. Just like that. Randomly he just gives me a donation and just walks off. And I was like, whoa, that is definitely Krishna. So like this, Krishna, he is always there. He always has our back. We should never be afraid, It's not that only sannyasis, they should have this quality of fearlessness. But all of us, we can also cultivate this quality of abhayam, of being fearless, by understanding that Radha Gopinath, they're always present with us. No matter how challenging the service is, how challenging the environment is, we should understand that I have Krishna with me. So what more to ask for, He's there. He's the Supreme Lord. He's the Supreme Master. He's the Supreme Controller. So what is there to be worried about? So definitely, no doubt, as we do seva, we'll come across many challenging situations. I was hearing one pastime of Prabhupada. Prabhupada was in Juhu. And this is during the time when Prabhupada was, the whole, the Juhu battle, to acquire the land for Radha Rasbihari. So that was like a big problem, for Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. And it went on for a long time. So one time in Juhu, devotees came to see Prabhupada, and they saw Prabhupada like very tense, in like a lot of stress and anxiety. And then devotees came and approached Prabhupada, and they said, Prabhupada, are you okay? Is everything okay, Prabhupada? And then Prabhupada says, I have a big headache, like that Prabhupada said, but I am blissful. And then devotees were a bit confused. Prabhupada, you said you have a big headache, but at the same time you said you're blissful. How is that? And then Prabhupada explains. Prabhupada says, when we work for Maya, when we work for the illusory energy, it's a headache. And that headache is miserable. Then Prabhupada says, when we work for Krishna, the headache we get is even bigger than the headache we get when we work for Maya. So when we work for Maya, we get a headache. When we work for Krishna, we get an even bigger headache. But Prabhupada said the difference is, the small headache we get when we work for Maya is miserable. The big headache we get when we work for Krishna is blissful. Like this Prabhupada explained. So, we probably had experience of this, last week during Janmashtami. So many things to do, and no doubt it was a big headache, But that headache is blissful, as Prabhupada says, because that headache is for Krishna's service. That is the anxiety we're going through, the stress we're going through, that is a spiritual anxiety. One time, one book distributor, he came to Prabhupada, or she came to Prabhupada. I think it was Mataji. She came to Prabhupada and she was telling Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, when I go on book distribution, I become in too much anxiety. I become too much stressed out. And other devotees, they're saying, you shouldn't become so stressed out. You shouldn't become so much anxious. You should be peaceful and calm. What should I do, Prabhupada? And Prabhupada, he told this Mataji that actually that anxiety you're going through when you distribute books, that is not mature anxiety, that is spiritual anxiety. The anxiety that you're going through, that I'm not distributing books, no books has gone, I need to distribute more books, that is spiritual anxiety. And Prabhupada says that anxiety you're feeling, that is same as Mother Yasoda's anxiety. Mother Yasoda in the spiritual world, it's not like she's very peaceful and calm and, whole day. But as Prabhupada says, Mother Yasoda in the spiritual world, she's non-stop, from morning to evening, she's in constant anxiety for Krishna. Oh, I need to cook this for Krishna. Oh, Krishna went and stole butter from this person's house. Oh, this complaint has come about Krishna. Oh, Krishna is running out into the bush. There'll be wild monkeys who will harm Krishna. So like this, during the whole day, Mother Yasoda is in constant anxiety for Krishna. But this anxiety is spiritual anxiety. This anxiety is transcendental anxiety, and this anxiety is blissful. This anxiety gives the highest bliss, highest happiness, highest ecstasy. Then Prabhupada explained to this Mataji that anxiety that you're going through, that no books has gone out, I need to distribute books, I've only done 2-3 books. That anxiety you're going through, that is spiritual anxiety. That is not material. And Prabhupada told this Mataji, now you go back to those devotees and tell them what I said, that it's okay to be in anxiety, it's okay to be stressed out. This is not material, this is spiritual. Like this Prabhupada tells this Mataji. Okay, we'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, yes. I don't know any particular verse which talks about these 4 things, but you'll hear like Radhana Maharaj, he'll quote these 4 things. The 2 things we should remember, 2 things we should forget. Radhana Maharaj, he quotes this, Bhakti Rasamitra Maharaj. And other senior devotees, they quote. Probably from their study of the Shastras, they have, compiled this kind of like sutra, 2 things we should remember, 2 things we should forget. Stita Prajna from chapter 2, yes. So if we go through the verses of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we'll see so many verses, they'll fall under, or they will go into one of those 4 brackets. Okay, we'll stop here. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.